In 1891, on the island of Java, a paleoanthropologist named Eugene Dubois from the Netherlands discovered the Java Man, a fossilized series of bones dating to around 850,000 years ago, marking the beginning of the country we know of Indonesia. Around 40,000 years ago, on the crazy-shaped island of Sulawesi, the Maros Pongkep cave paintings were made by the early form of Homo sapiens, the species of human you are. These cave paintings show drawings of the babirusa, an odd animal which still exists today. Their teeth curl back and eventually puncture their skull, which is what normally kills them. In my opinion, this is the world's greatest survival adaptation. Around 4,000 years ago, the ancestors of the Polynesians, the Australasians, migrated from Taiwan to Indonesia and then into Polynesia. The Austronesians, who stayed in Indonesia, mixed in and later gave birth to the modern Indonesians and the Malagasy all the way over in Madagascar. The Australasians arrived in Madagascar before the people on mainland Africa, surprisingly, despite it being over 20 times further away. By the 100s or 2nd century, there was already a small amount of trading between the Indonesians, or what we call them today, and the Chinese. This was fairly impressive given the technology before the medieval era. By 650, the Satakanagara and Tarumanagana kingdoms had already came and went. In 655, Indonesia's first empire was born, which united the western third of what's now Indonesia. It was known as the Srivijaya Empire and was the first Buddhist empire or state in what's now Indonesia. By 700, the Malaya Kingdom was established, which largely implemented Buddhism into daily life. The word Malayu is where the word Malay came from. Now let's see who would rule all the islands. By 1268, the Srivijaya and Malaya fell to the Singasari and the... It's the Mahajapit. Majapahit. Mapajahit. Mahapajit. Mapajahit. Mahajapit. Did you get my reference? Did you get my reference? I'm not trying to get copyright striked. It's supposed to be funny. Do you get my reference? In 1269, in the modern Indonesian state of Aceh, the Samudra Pasai Sultanate was born. It was the first sultanate in Indonesia, and it was when Islam began its conquest of Indonesia. Indonesia was eventually no longer a Buddhist majority place. Around 1285, a man you may know as Marco Polo sailed through Indonesia on his way to India. He stopped at many islands and was one of the first Europeans to discover Asia's monsoons. By the time Magellan was slaughtered in the Philippines in 1521, his crew had passed through what's now Indonesia, trying to avoid ambush from locals, and the locals were likely trying to avoid ambush from them. Along the way, Magellan's crew established many trade routes which would be used for hundreds of years to come. In 1602, the Dutch pushed into Indonesia and set up the Dutch East Indies, which was one of their colonies. The Dutch would continue ruling the people living in what's now Indonesia for over 200 years. In 1811, the British got sour that they lost another place they could colonize and invaded the Dutch East Indies and captured the island of Java. For those living in Indonesia in 1815, it was a hot year. In 1815, 98,000 people were killed in the most powerful volcanic eruption in human history, the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora. The blast was so powerful, it caused the famous year without a summer for millions around the world in 1816. Global temperatures fell 1.3 degrees, or 0.7 degrees Celsius, causing mass starvation and death globally. From 1825 to 1830, the natives of the island of Java, which I've mentioned multiple times by now, and the Dutch fought in the Java War of 1825. It was successfully put down by the Dutch, but the Dutch wouldn't rule Indonesia forever. From 1859 to 1863, the Dutch and the Sultanate of Banjar in what's now southeastern Borneo, which is an island shared by 3 nations, but in the Indonesian part, the Dutch and Sultanate of Banjar fought in the Banjarmasin War, which was also a Dutch victory. The year of 1883 is a hot topic for Indonesia. On August 27, 1883, Krakatoa erupted, which became the second largest volcanic eruption in history. 37,000 people were killed, and 70% of the island was blown off. On this day, August 17th, in 1945, Indonesia gained independence from the Netherlands. I'm so close to being done, hold on. In 1965, Indonesia became the country with the most Muslim or Islamic practitioners at 225 million, beating Saudi Arabia's 30 million nearly 8 times over. And with that is my history of Indonesia. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you all so much for watching my history of Indonesia. Coming up next are 2 requests, which are Kazakhstan and will be another tiny country, will be Monaco. No, I'm not showing the flag of Indonesia. And with that, thank you all so much for watching my history of Indonesia. See you all on my history of Kazakhstan.